Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh, my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Ryan, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined by my fellow co-hosts and filmmakers, John and Elaine Wolfscroft.
I can't breathe in here. I'm having a hard time breathing and seeing in here.
Nope.
Just kidding. There it is.
Yeah.
So you couldn't hear me either, so it was just the Brian show for a minute.
It was just the Brian show for a minute.
It's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. So you're in a real Silver Shamrock novelty mask, John.
Indeed. Okay, this is coming off.
Yeah. Bless you.
Yeah, please take that off.
It's so small. Oh my God, I can feel it straining against you. Good times. Good times.
I wish I had died like one of those kids in the movie.
Your commitment to art is admirable. So in case you guys couldn't figure out, we're going to talk about Halloween 3 today.
Guys, where the hell are we?
We're at Reclamation Brewery.
Yes, we are.
We are in a new environment. We're at a live show. This is very exciting.
Ooh, sexy.
It is sexy.
I like it.
It is sexy.
Yeah, this is part of the Rather Fine Arts Festival.
Yep, in beautiful Butler.
Down PA, not that far away from where I grew up, in Cranberry.
Mm-hmm. So,
Rather far away from where I grew up.
It is, but
Yeah.
we're doing the show on Halloween 3 because it's October.
Because why not?
I mean, why not?
It's kind of the redheaded stepchild of the Halloween franchise.
Okay, so
Tis
it's
the
Halloween, but there's no Michael Myers. So that's
Yeah.
why some people hate this movie.
It's kind of a lie.
Yeah.
It is a lie.
Yeah, there might even be some out in the audience. I don't know. But, yeah, so obviously, if you're going to do something Halloween-themed and we talk about bad movies, why not talk about the obscure piece of the Halloween franchise that has nothing to do with Michael Myers?
I mean, why would we talk about anything anyone likes?
Right?
Right?
Exactly.
We'll just dive in.
And because this film bombed so horribly at the box office, we got 4, 5, 6, H2O, Resurrection, 2 Rob Zombie, Michael Myers movies. So because nobody was willing to give this a chance, we had to get all these shitty, Halloween sequels instead of like an anthology film franchise, which is what this was supposed to be.
I do got to note that my wife, who is sitting in the audience, hates this film.
She does, and it's because there's no stupid Michael Myers in it.
And
I
it's true.
support you, Lauren. I support you.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when I mentioned to her that we were going to be reviewing this film, of all films, her response was just, why do you pick bad movies?
Because John's on the show.
And that's exactly the point. She was like, you only pick bad movies. I said, this was John's pick. This was not my pick. And then she explained to me how when she originally bought the box set for Halloween, it came with number 3. And the first time she watched it, she kept, just like the rest of us, saying, when the hell is Michael Myers going to show up? And he didn't.
Right. So, and I mean, one of the things that I think's the weirdest part is that this is called Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
That's right.
And there's actually no real witches in it really
They mention
either.
witches.
Kind of are some witches in this.
They make some noises about Stonehenge, and there's a witch mask, and that's it. That doesn't count. That's dumb.
There's warlocks in this. Okay?
That's true. That's true. But so I guess John, do you want to kind of start where you kind of discovered this film?
Yeah, I was gonna say Lauren hates this, but I'm a fan. I got the mask, I got the T-shirt.
You are wearing a Silver Shamrock T-shirt.
Yes,
You are
kind of
representing this redheaded stepchild just like I would imagine you would.
You are exactly what the man wants. You bought all the merch from the movie.
But yeah, when I was around 11 years old, I started it was the Halloween season, and I wanted to get into horror movies, and I thought, what better way at Halloween to start than with Halloween?
Right.
Loved it.
Makes sense.
Being 11 years old, I even liked the sequel, which isn't a horrible movie, but it's
Not a great
nothing
movie.
compared to the original. And then at Eagle Video, which if you're not in Pennsylvania, Giant Eagle is a chain of grocery stores
with a video store in it.
It had a video store in it, and if you are under the age of 25, a video store is where you used to go to rent movies.
You're such a smug old person. No one likes that.
No, just a sad old person.
Video store.
Sad old person.
The video store is a place you went. You actually had to use your legs.
It was like a library for movies that you had to pay for.
You either drove with a car to the video store,
Or you rode your bike.
You. What's a bike?
You guys are killing
Polar
me.
bears attacked you on the way there. It was awful.
You went uphill one way and uphill the other way.
Oh,
And
God.
then when you got to the video store, you had to have a card.
Soon we're going to have to tell
That card would
kids.
be mangled
Yeah.
beyond
Yeah.
recognition, and then you would.
Well, it was made of
look at the
paper.
box
It
art.
was going to happen.
Okay, old men.
Anyways, yeah.
Point of the story.
So, at
I'm
Eagle
just
Video,
saying things were better then.
And there were actually polar bears.
I rent Halloween 3. I mean, next to it is Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers, Halloween 5, Revenge of Michael Myers. So, obviously, he's in this movie, right?
That's because Halloween 4, they realized, oh, God, we screwed up.
And
We blew it.
We'll get to that. But, yeah, I rent this movie. And the first scene of the movie has a guy running for his life. I'm like, oh, he's running from Michael. I don't know how he's still alive. He was burnt to shreds in the last movie, but that's what he's
how it
doing.
went.
And
That's
then
how it went
at about the 15-minute mark, I'm like, where the hell is Michael? I was a really stupid kid, so it took me about 30 minutes into it to be like, yeah, I don't think he's coming.
Michael's not coming.
I don't think he's in this one.
Right. Well, then. So now, of course, I'm married to you, and you've made
poor thing.
me watch this movie every year for the past 4 years.
Yes.
So that's.
Tis the season, tis the tradition.
I came to most horror movies kind of late, admittedly. I saw Halloween when I was in 7th grade, and I really liked it. I really liked the soundtrack, especially because I thought it was so fascinating that the music could make me scared more than like the film. And then I didn't really like catch any of the sequels. I don't know, just wasn't about the sequels. But then when you introduced me to this movie, I don't know, sometimes I feel like for me, I need to see a movie a couple of times when it's a terrible movie. So the first time I'm like, this hurts physically.
Well, I wouldn't call this a terrible movie.
And then the second time, it's familiar, right? I mean, there's science saying that the more times you see something, the more familiar it becomes to you and the more you like it. I think that's me in most bad movies as far as horror is concerned. Because the first one, I just wanted to lie down. I was like, this is exhaustingly bad. I can't handle it the whole way. But then the second year, I was like, oh, I remember this. I'm like, oh, okay. He's a doctor and there's like a thing and people are like gonna die and and then the third time I was like, but then the third time I was like, oh, I was like, this is kind of awesome. Like she's, he has this like, co-star and like they have like a thing and there's like you kind of like get more familiar with it and you look for like the nuances. And then that was the first year I thought that the scene with the homeless dude was funny. Yeah. And then this year I saw it twice because we watched it once and fell asleep and then watched it again.
Yeah.
I also fell asleep while watching this, by the way.
Yeah, I mean it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
It's a slow burn.
Yeah, well, Elaine,
it's a slow movie. It's not a slow burn.
I showed this to you because I'm like, oh, this is the weird Halloween movie that doesn't have Michael Myers in it. It's The Outlier.
And that should have been great, but I
irony,
don't know. It isn't about anything that you think it's going to be about. It's just super weird.
Yeah, and I mean, this is far from a great film or anything, but what I love about it is it is so encapsulated in the 1980s.
It
is just
so
that
80s.
cornball 80s goofy ass movie.
There's a lot of earth.
There's a lot of corduroy.
A lot of corduroy.
A lot of curly hair. Not
Curly
that I
hair.
relate.
A lot
anyway.
of acceptable alcoholism. Excuse me while I take a sip of beer.
It's actually kind of weird how acceptable the alcoholism. As we're saying this in a brewery.
Yeah. I mean, it was actually kind of an appropriate film, I suppose, to talk about in a brewery. But I mean, do we want to like start to break it down and kind of like talk about a little bit of the plot and everything?
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about the history of this.
Let's talk about the history.
How
you
we
did
got
research.
to Halloween.
Oh yeah, John, you're kind of like the living expert on Halloween 3.
Yeah. Well, for Halloween, the original film, people look at it as, it's so cliche, the killer isn't there at the end of the movie. But this is one of the first movies to do that. And it wasn't sequel bait. They didn't think they were going to make a second one. They actually did not want to make a second Michael Myers film. So the idea is when Michael Myers at the end of Halloween 1 is not there after being shot, spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen it by now.
If you've missed out on Halloween, I'm so sorry for you.
It's that the idea is that evil continues on in the air, and no matter where you go, the boogeyman will be there.
It's very cerebral.
Yeah, it wasn't meant that Michael was going to come back, but then the studio wanted a sequel, and they said, we want Michael. They said, okay, we'll do it if we can kill him off. And John Carpenter doesn't direct, but him and Deborah Hill produced the film, and he helps write the script. And with the idea at the end that they burn him alive. Spoiler alert again. So Michael is lying in cinder. He's dead. Laurie survives. She's all broken up. Donald Pleasance's character,
Dr. Loomis.
Dr. Loomis.
Ooh, nice.
Is he burns himself up too to kill Michael. So that's the end of it. But they wanted to continue the series, so they thought, what if we do this as an anthology film series?
Well, that was John Carpenter. He wanted.
Yeah.
He vehemently hated the idea of sequels and didn't want to do anything with Halloween 2. They kind of paid him a lot, I believe, to get him involved with Halloween 2 to some degree. But when they came back around, he was like, hey, we're going to do number 3. And he's like, well, what if we do, which I think at the time was kind of revolutionary. Because now you see this with American Horror Story and a lot of stuff on TV where one season will be one complete story, and then they go to the next season, that's a complete story, completely ignoring everything that happened in the previous season. So, but he was like, what if we have it where it's another story completely based around Halloween, but we don't include Michael Myers?
Yeah,
and they liked it.
And that was the idea. Every year or every other year, you do a anthology film based on Halloween to some degree, and Halloween is the only theme that ties them together.
Halloween the holiday?
Yes, Halloween.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it is a holiday.
Yeah, this movie.
So this movie's about Halloween
well.
instead of Michael Myers, but that's its failure.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people have a lot of reasons why this movie didn't succeed. The number one thing being it didn't have Michael Myers in it, and they didn't make that clear in the marketing. Which I don't know. I watched the trailer a couple times, and it's pretty clear Michael isn't in this movie, so I don't know why people were
But I think that was a different era. You know, you expected to see the title character, or not, I mean, in this case, not the title character, but, you know, the famous main character in an anthology like that. I think, you know, in the 80s, you'd have been like, well, of course Michael Myers is going to be in it. It's Halloween.
Right.
You know, whereas I think we're more expectant of different nuances in anthology and even in, you know, sequel at this point.
And there were also a lot of big contenders for movies like around the same time it came out. Poltergeist, E.T., to name a few.
It was also a couple of years after
Halloween 2.
Friday the 13th.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So you already have a movie that's out there that has the, you know, looking killer thing going on.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, and this film is, you know, it's not your typical slasher film. It's kind of a science fiction horror movie. I think Deborah Hill pitched it as witchcraft meets the computer age.
Which is cool until you see the final product.
I mean, there's no witchcraft in it.
So the movie's written technically by Tommy Lee Wallace and also directed by that individual.
Okay.
He was Michael for some of the clips in the original Halloween movie. Not when he's unmasked, but when he's walking around. And he was a production assistant. Worked with John Carpenter quite a bit on The Fog and other movies, and got the opportunity to direct this movie. He also hated sequels, hated them with a fervent passion, but because this wasn't another Michael Myers movie, he jumped on board. And what a delightful anti-capitalism, anti-Irish, anti-children, anti-Halloween movie that he managed to make.
I mean, is it anti-children, though? Because we know that the corporation that's trying to get this done is evil.
Yeah, but they're murdering children.
But it's murdering children.
Yeah, but only if the movie tells us that murdering children is okay, but we have a hero that's trying to stop it, so the movie is not telling us that children murder is okay. Are we really talking about children murder in live space?
Yes, we are.
Talking about kid murder, guys.
I don't
this
see
is
any kids
exciting.
in the audience, so I think we're cool.
It's true, but that's the thing.
Like, show.
That's if the movie said that was okay, I would say it would be anti-children. The fact that they're murdering children is still wrong to some people in this universe, so I'm not sure I buy anti-children.
But they went there in a way that most movies don't. You don't make children victims, and if they're put in harm's way, they don't ever actually get hurt. This film has violent child murder in it.
I mean, it does. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm saying that there's still characters that think that's wrong. And that's the important thing.
So, you know, that's where we ended up with Halloween 3. It performed poorly, as we had mentioned, at the box office. Did not have the returns like... And Mustafa Akkad, who was in charge of the Halloween franchise, said that we're not giving up on this, but we're bringing Michael back. So that's why 6 years later we got Halloween 4.
He basically had the Tim Burton meeting done to him.
Yes.
You know about the Tim Burton meeting?
For Batman Forever?
Well, yeah.
Or the untitled Batman film?
Oh, no, you did such a great job with returns. Don't you want to do something smaller? You don't want to do Batman.
Maybe something without a Penguin Man spewing black tar out of his mouth.
So that's sort of how we ended up with the film then,
Yeah. And, so we have now witchcraft in the digital age. So the original treatment was done by, his name is Neil, I'm forgetting his last name now. It was very cerebral, missing a lot on the violence. Tommy Lee Wallace, who was brought on as a director, was also brought on to kind of juice up the script.
Pump it up.
You know, pump it up.
Put some more violence into it.
Yeah, put a little roid in it.
Some more kid death.
And there is a lot in this movie.
Graphic violence.
Yes.
It is quite graphic.
You've got some head twisting. You've got some eye gouging. You've got
face exploding.
And
I think some of it does hold up a little bit. The practical effects more so than anything else.
Yeah. Well, and this guy was so appalled by what the changes they made that he had his name removed from the script. So when you see the movie, it's just written and directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, when all he did actually was a bunch of script updates.
And so the other guy just kind of washed his hands of it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's for the best.
He's like, this isn't my movie anymore. So
that's fair.
So he walked away from that. But yeah, so we get a movie about a novelty factory, Silver Shamrock, who is making masks to kill a bunch of children on
and they look
Halloween
just like
night. And that's the premise of the film.
That's pretty much the whole movie right there.
Well, they do have a motivation, albeit kind of strange. They're trying to make this every 100-year sacrifice.
Well, it's been 3,000 years since the last great sacrifice.
Oh, or 3,000. I miscounted.
I think that might have been the part where I fell asleep through the movie.
But
you missed the sexy lady robot.
The point, though, is that every Silver Shamrock mask has a tag in the back that has science shit in it. They never really explain it, but it has
it's connected to Stonehenge.
Yeah, it has like a chip that connects it to Stonehenge, and somehow there's going to be this frequency that goes off on Halloween during this very special like giveaway that the company's been advertising. And when kids watch this in their masks, it sacrifices them, makes their faces explode. Everyone dies. Makes the sacrifice.
It doesn't just make their faces explode.
They turn into bugs. It's really weird. It's weird.
Snakes.
Guys, we're overlooking the fact that Stonehenge is in this fucking movie.
They got one of the stones at Stonehenge at their lab. It's very sciencey.
They stole it. By the way, I think there's like 4 time zones that you pass through if you are traveling back to the United States with Stonehenge on a boat.
Yeah, it has to be a boat. You can't take that shit on an airplane.
How did they get it? Did they bring trucks? Because the movie opens up with this, like you hear a news report, and Stonehenge is still mysteriously disappeared after 3 weeks. Nobody knows how or why.
I just wish that the main guy, like the main villain, just carried it on his back to the boatyard.
You mean the head of OCP carried this on his back?
Yeah, just on his back, like to the shipyard, and just loaded it himself.
This was the chairman of OCP's first company, Silver Shamrock, before he
took over OCP. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the main villain in this movie is also the CEO of OCP from RoboCop. So
and that's what you guys know him from.
Yeah. He's actually an Academy Award nominated actor, but
you'd never know it.
I know him from RoboCop.
And this movie.
Here. I know him as the head of OCP, who says, "Dick Jones, you're fired." Thank you.
But he's also part-time Stonehenge thief.
Yes.
So.
So to kind of get to the meat of this here, so the movie opens up with a man, running
for his life.
For his life, he's being chased by a Ronald Reagan press secretary.
Well, that's the goons, are Reaganites from the 80s.
Exactly.
In 3-piece suits.
Yes.
That don't talk.
I mean, it's just guys in 3-piece suits. I don't want that to be confusing for anyone who hasn't seen the movie. They look Reagan-esque, but I don't want that to be confusing. This has nothing to do with Reagan.
They all have the haircuts and
just to be clear,
robots.
I'm gonna back Brian up on this because the director said I'm an old school hippie, and I hate corporations and I hate where America's at with politics right now. So this is like my anti-establishment movie.
Right, and that's fine. I just don't want anyone to be confused that the Reaganites were being flip. We're making that like a thing.
Yes. We're being flippant. We're doing a bit.
We're doing a thing.
It's
a thing.
So yeah, he's being chased by this guy, ends up in the hospital, and that's where we are. He's rushed in there. We're introduced to our hero,
Dr. Dan.
Dr. Dan,
who is a fat, middle-aged, mustachioed,
super fat,
smoky
that's
alcoholic.
Not fair. That's not fair. He is dad bod.
He's
it's
awkward
fine.
shaped.
He's dad bod.
He has very
it's okay.
broad shoulders.
It's okay.
Played by
Pittsburgh's own.
Tom
Atkins.
Yeah, so don't call him fat, jerk.
Yeah. Sorry, Tom. We want you to work with us. So.
But he's
amazing in this movie. Okay.
He's representing the perfect 80s protagonist, so to speak.
Well, the director of the film had said, I don't want, a sexy, buff, young, good-looking hero type. I want
An underwhelming white man
who has a lot of flaws, which this character does,
and whose acting abilities extend to a half-winked eye.
Brian, you got this thing about his eye, don't you?
It's not very nice.
I was watching this last night.
Not kind.
I'll be honest
Not
with
kind.
you. I'm watching his reaction to everything, and it's always the same reaction. It's the half-winked eye, open eye here. And he does it with every
That was a
single
visual
scene.
bit on a podcast, everybody.
Yep, he did a thing. But there's people here this time. It's nice.
Watch any Tom Atkins movie, and you'll see the same reaction every single time something amazing happens. Night of the Creeps, I think he does that as well.
I disagree. I think Tommy Atkins is amazing. Tom, please come on the show.
Well, what's
Please come
hilarious
see
is
us.
a couple of years
I'd like to have
ago.
him on the show and ask him, why can't you wink your eye?
Oh my God! If you asked that, I would punch you in the face.
Guys, a couple of
Where are
years
your
ago,
manners?
he played Ebenezer Scrooge
He did.
locally here, and on the bus, and I was like, wait, Tom Atkins, the guy from Halloween 3?
Yeah, and he played Scrooge, right?
Yes.
I love it. Wish I could have seen it.
So he gets called in after going to his wife's place, his ex-wife, I should say.
Yeah, his ex-wife who
And,
hates him and is kind of awful.
And they really, wardrobe-wise, made her look unlikable as all.
She's very stuffy looking, and she's always she always seems like she's on his case,
Very matronly looking.
and she's always nagging him. But I feel like she has good reasons though, because it seems like he flakes a lot.
Oh, yeah. No, he's not a great guy. He's got a drinking
Not a great
problem.
dad. Not a great dad.
Yeah, he's a horn dog.
He couldn't spring for the Silver Shamrock mask. He had to get.
I don't think he was aware of those.
Masks.
Dude,
He's
those
like,
masks.
yeah, don't you like your mask, kids? And you're like, the hell with you, Dad. We got Silver Shamrock masks.
To be fair, the Silver Shamrock masks are a million times better than the ones he found, even though they are instruments of murder. Even the risk of murder is still worth it. He found
they're-
really
they're
bad
the
masks.
Apple iPhone of Halloween.
Yes,
But-
That's right.
yes, they are.
Thankfully, his kids have the witch and skull one, so he doesn't notice when he gets called into the hospital and the guy has the orange pumpkin mask that's the one my kids have, and he's freaking out about it. Doesn't think too much of it.
No.
And then another Reaganite comes in and kills the guy while he's sleeping in bed, the one that was originally put into the hospital,
Yeah.
by
Eye poking.
ripping his eyes out and pulling his face
he just
down.
eye pokes him.
Yeah.
Well, that'll kill you if you smash your thumbs into somebody's eye sockets. That'll
there's
kill
that
you.
built-up gore that we talked about. And then the guy that does the murder, he's being chased to the hospital, goes out to his car, lights himself on fire, hits a match or a lighter, and then kaboom.
Yes.
We have to explain how nonchalantly this dude immolates himself, though.
Yeah.
And that's the first part that's weird. He just goes out to his car, he's covered in gasoline, and just lights it, and that's it. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
Because
At
he
this
doesn't
time,
seem
you're
to
thinking
care.
He is a normal human.
And that would be your first mistake.
Yeah, and he does it like somebody who's clipping their fingernails. So that's the first bizarre thing that's going on here. And then our hero decides, oh well, I'm just gonna go get drunk because that's what I do all the time.
Well,
And
he's a doctor, so he tried to help the guy, and then the guy, met an untimely end. But then he's talking to the police and stuff too.
yeah.
He has to wrap everything up. I feel like he's taking a nap more than drinking more.
Yeah. Oh, and we should also note that this guy is a giant hornball, and for being average looking at best, every woman in this movie wants him.
I'm not
true.
sure that's true. I'm
Yes,
not
it
sure.
And his sexual harassment is brought to as charming.
Well, he got cheeky with that older lady, but I feel like that older lady
With the one nurse, he
joked
grabs
around.
her ass, and she's like, "Oh, you."
Oh, that's not okay. I forgot. I
And then
forgot he
goes-
grabbed something. My
and then he
mistake.
goes down to the lab to have the
Oh, that's
analyzed.
right.
And he's just like, oh, hey, you'd want to do me a favor and analyze this?
Okay, never
Against,
mind.
you
Get
can
real
get
close
fired
and
for
kiss
it.
her at the end?
He's disgusting. I forgot. Never mind.
And she's like, "Oh yeah, anything for you." And then they kiss. He's like, "You don't just kiss random friends unless I don't know, you're
I
Italian or
took
something,
it that they were dating.
No.
And then he
Oh,
just
he's
cheated on
dating
her later in the
everyone
movie.
then.
Yeah, then he's dating everybody in the movie. But yeah, so he's at the bar after, the daughter comes and identifies her father as the guy that was murdered.
From
He's
the
at-
beginning of the movie, the guy that had ran
Yeah.
and the guy who had the mask.
And this is where the movie gets kind of meta, because Halloween, the franchise, is or not the franchise, but the first,
first
two movies
movie.
are in this universe, and they show it on TV
when he's in a bar.
Yeah, the big giveaway will be after airing Halloween on Halloween night. So make sure if you're a kid, you're wearing your Silver Shamrock mask and you're watching for the big giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
And then she comes
at
in
9 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's like 1 in the afternoon, and then like the daughter Ellie, is her name.
Mm-hmm.
She shows up and finds Dr. Dan, and it's like, hey,
Dan.
did my father say anything before he died?
Because she has no idea what happened. I mean, this is totally out of the blue to her.
Yeah. And, and eventually it leads to them deciding to Scooby-Doo this shit and just, like, see what the hell's going on with these Silver Shamrock masks.
Seriously do take that Scooby-Dooing to the next level. Because I'm like, this guy's a doctor.
Well, then they're
He's not a
Scooby-Dooing, and
detective.
then they're just doing.
Yeah. Yeah, he is not a detective. He is a broken-down shell of a human being who drinks too much and ignores his children.
He, cared, though, about this whole thing. I don't
Because
know.
she was hot.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
If it had been that guy's son, he would never have. He would have gone home and watched his kids like he was supposed to.
It would have been like, excuse me, I have to go grab my 6-pack of beer and, waste my sorrows away.
Yeah,
I guess. I mean,
I need some roadies so I can go take care of my kids.
But he read the script, guys, so he took an interest. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So they go to like a hardware store. Were Halloween masks available at hardware stores?
Yeah, they go to her
back in the
father's
day?
hardware store.
In the first movie, Michael steals a Halloween mask from a hardware store. In this movie, they go to a hardware store and there's masks. Like,
hardware stores were more multi-department back then.
I guess
because
so.
the town hardware store was kind of where you got everything. They would have a number of things.
Operating on the general store idea.
Well, think about it, John. You can get a costume at like CVS. That's a drugstore.
I suppose
or
so.
Walgreens. You can find like a Halloween mask there. That's not so different.
But yeah, they have the 3 Silver Shamrock masks, and they actually had 2 that were actual masks out there, and they made the jack-o'-lantern one for the movie. And the idea is they made the 3rd one because it's the 3rd movie, and they wanted 3 masks. So
that's exciting.
yeah, that's a bonus fact.
That's some marketing for you, folks.
And then they start inspecting this a little further. They find out where the Silver Shamrock factory is.
Well, that was the whole thing. Ellie's father had an order of these masks, as so many of these hardware stores did.
Yeah.
And so they kind of went there looking for clues, and that was all that she really knew. Was the last thing that he had done was to go to this town in nowhere, California, to get the masks directly from the manufacturer.
How dare you,
because that was
Santa
the only
Mira, California.
Santa Mira, California,
which doesn't exist,
which isn't real. But went to get the masks.
Yeah.
And that was what kind of gets them on their way. And then they end up in Santa Mira. And Santa Mira is a weird town.
Yeah.
It's a weird place.
Before we even get there, he's supposed to watch over his kids. And
it's his weekend.
Once.
It's his weekend with the kids. And he's like, I'm not doing
honey,
that.
I'm not going to be able to make it home. I just met this really hot chick, and we're going to go to this random town in California, probably bang, and I'm going to get really drunk. So I can't watch the kids.
Like you do.
And he's got a 6-pack on top of the phone booth. Once again, a phone booth.
A 6-pack of beer.
Before cell phones, you had to call on one of those if you were out.
Oh, that's right. He had the 6-pack right at the phone. That's so weird.
So he grabs the 6-pack after he blows off his wife and children.
I've got to go solve mysteries, honey. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got to give it in the mystery machine.
I'm sure even Sherlock Holmes had the occasional brew, guys. It's okay.
No, he had heroin.
Dr. Dan is making it work. No, I feel like Holmes was like an opiates kind of guy.
Yeah, probably.
Opiates.
But yeah, they come to, Elaine, as you said, this delightful town.
It's weird.
Yeah.
There's a weird vibe.
Yeah.
And everyone's very pod person. Everyone's staring at them because they're outsiders and no one knows them.
Well, one of the influences for this movie was Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
And that tracks. I mean, definitely, I think you can see that influence in these characters because they're very much about the outsider view.
Yeah. Because as soon as they get there, everybody's looking at them strange and, and he's like, hey, let's pretend to be a couple so I can just cop a couple free feels.
Well, they're trying to actually investigate what happened and see what happened to, her dad, because the last thing he did was pick up this order, so they're trying to follow that trail.
Well, and here's our brilliant heroes thinking, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a hotel room and we're going to appear like we're a couple. And then we're going to get a bunch of booze and have sex.
Well, no. You're
That's
being
his master plan.
No, this is you lampooning the movie. I mean,
am I wrong though?
Yes, because they decide to get the hotel room so they have somewhere private to talk because everyone keeps side-eyeing them constantly. They pose as a couple so no one will be a jerk to them about getting a room together. And then, that other stuff happens, but that wasn't the end goal. That wasn't the point. They went to investigate, and yes, drinking and the sex happened, but that wasn't the goal.
I'm fairly certain at least the booze was his plan.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Like, I'm going to grab a bottle of whiskey and a 6-pack Miller High
I'm not
Life.
going to take this from you.
And
but
if nothing else, I'm going to do that.
But the whole point was they needed somewhere to bunker down where they could collect their thoughts and talk this thing out, because everyone was being really evasive about her father's whereabouts, and they were just like, oh yeah, everything was fine. He came and got the stuff, and then he left.
It's important to note, though, that none of that really mattered, because the entire town is mic'd and surveillance to hell.
There's
Yeah,
you know,
it's
those
a police
speakers.
state in
The
this
speakers,
town.
like in normal towns, you would have maybe like Christmas music pumped into the streets like once a year. But in this town, it's like a little tone, and they're like, "It is time for curfew. Please get inside." And that's actually, John, a fun fact if you want to share.
That is Jamie Lee Curtis.
Her single contribution to this film.
So coming back to this one to do a little bit of voiceover work.
A very little bit. I mean, that probably took 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. And in this process, we're introduced to Buddy Kemp. The
cousin
one,
Eddie of this franchise, if you will.
and his family. He's the number one seller of these masks.
His wife and then his son.
He's in her awesome one-piece tracksuit.
Yeah.
It's kind of great. Everything about his wife is kind of great.
And their little shitheel kid, do you think that they
Shitheel.
purposely made him like awful so that when he dies later,
Spoiler
there we
alert.
go, spoiler alert, that we
don't feel
care
as bad. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why he's willful, because doesn't he flip off his mom?
He does.
Do you know how much trouble I would have gotten into if I'd ever flipped off my mother? I mean, my mom was scary. She'd have grounded me for like 8 weeks.
Don't ride your bike in the street.
And he just straight up gives her the finger. I'm like, what? I mean, I think it is.
I'm going to enjoy it later when you get killed by that Silver Shamrock mask.
Seriously, when all these bugs come out of your face, I will not feel sorry for you, child.
But we're
So they're staying at the motel as well.
yeah, and we're also introduced to another sales lady who's basically there to die.
Well, she was there because her order got screwed up.
Yeah.
And she had to come back and do all this stuff.
And one of the Silver
One of
Shamrock
them-
microchips fell off.
Yeah,
of the mask.
was it because one of her masks was like
defective
yeah. or something?
So she came all the way out there to like complain.
They didn't have the internet back then. You actually had to drive out to the...
I mean, she couldn't have made a phone call? I don't know.
They didn't have phones back then.
They all read
It's
the
a
script
rotary
back
dial.
then,
She had
so
2 pieces of it.
for
Yeah.
script reasons. But she seemed cool. She was like real mad about this mask situation that she had to come all the way back to, what was it, Santa Mira?
Santa Mira.
She had to come all the way back to Santa Mira. But I'd be mad too. The town is creepy.
Well, guys,
It's weird.
We're ignoring the guy that runs the hotel, and he's an Irishman to such a ridiculous level.
It was weird. His accent was
The
not
price is right, and the room is clean. Something along those lines.
Just replaced these pipes last winter. They're very good.
Oh my God, you guys really like mastered that. You guys have him down
was all
cold.
on the fly.
Good job. Good job.
Yeah, our sales lady who comes near the end, she gets into the strangest nightgown I've ever seen.
Oh my God, will
She
you
looks like
leave it with the nightgown? Like
She's
that was
trying
just
to
what
block
people
radiation, I
wore.
think.
No, it was what people wore. It was like a big like kind of like caftan shape almost. You know, like a house coat. Like I don't know, my grandmother wore shit like
Well,
that.
It looked like a white thing that she put on like Walking Dead. They smeared like zombie guts all over it. That's
John,
what
it
looked
was.
like she was
I mean,
sleeping in.
I'm sure you're not a big fan, but the word is actually paisley. That's the word you're looking for. And there was like like gold thread in it and shit. It was actually like ugly pretty, like
Ugly pretty.
like editorial magazines where you're supposed to be like attractive and not at the same time.
Gotcha.
It was fine. Not
yeah.
that's like the fourth time he's talked about the nightgown, by the way, guys, this month. Enough with the nightgown.
She dies.
Well, yeah, because she gets out of bed, does the looks like that Silver Shamrock logo thing off the mask fell
Yeah.
off.
Oh, and there's people here, so you can see it looks like just like this in the movie, but there's like a motherboard in it. Halloween 3. The one without Michael Myers. It's okay. It's all right. Happy to catch you up.
And it electrocutes in her face.
Oh no!
And she
It like
starts,
bounces
picking at it.
off.
Fires.
Yeah.
It's a misfire, and it
It's a
like bounces
misfire.
the light off, and like it's the most gruesome thing because it explodes her face in half, where you can see like her teeth where they meet like the skeleton of her jaw. And yeah, and it's one of the parts that holds up actually kind of okay because her eyeballs also explode, and then there's like bugs that come out, and it's actually the only part of the film where I'm like, ugh, like it's like a little, I wouldn't say scary, but it's just like
The
like
actress refused to
disturbing.
wear that, by the way. That's actually a stand-in because the actress who was married to Tom Atkins would not wear the mask.
What?
Or that prosthetic over her face.
Really?
So that's not even her.
But that's like your only
scene.
job is just to like die and like wear that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, though I have to say, like, makeup is very oppressive. A couple Halloweens ago, remember when you did the Halloween makeup for me? I was little.
No zombie.
I was Little Red Riding Hood, and like my idea for the costume was that like the wolf and I had like had a moment, and so I had these big claw marks on my face, and after a while, like I had to get out of them because it was just. I got really. I'm not a claustrophobic person, but I was like, I need this off my face right now. So I don't know. Maybe I kind of understand where that lady's coming from.
Well, and it
was a big piece.
Yeah. And at first, our heroes don't do much about this because they're too busy just like getting it on instead of investigating the thing, which and she actually kind of solicit this. Nothing. A 19-year-old beautiful woman wants to have sex with a 40-something-year-old absentee father alcoholic.
And that's what I always look for in a film. I mean, like she was definitely she definitely wanted this to happen. So I really have no problem with it because there's no issues of internalized misogyny or consent. Like just two people doing it, and one of them's better looking than the other.
It just seems
happens every day. I mean,
very heavy-handed. He met her literally the day before.
But her dad just died. I mean, daddy issues personified, right? Like, that's how it works, isn't it? Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
daddy issues is actually continued misogyny because you're still blaming the woman. If you think about it. If you think about it, think about it later. Think about it later. But anyway, that's why I'm saying what I said was wrong. I'm correcting myself and trying to be better and be a better human.
What was that noise? And he's like, I'm too busy.
It was literally the woman's face exploding. And Dr. Dan is like, meh, it's fine.
I know we're here to investigate this company, but I'm getting my D wet.
I thought we agreed that we were going to say they had relations.
Oh, okay.
You went wildly off book. We are in a classy establishment.
That would only be the case if there were children in the audience.
That's true.
I did not see any children.
Remember when there was children at the last show and John just couldn't turn it off?
What? What are you
kept saying terrible things and there were kids around.
I don't know what you're talking about. But they eventually do go out to investigate, and the
well, he goes outside, and you actually had a really good line earlier today when we were talking about the movie.
Yeah. The owner of the hotel says, like, don't worry, we're going to take her to the factory. Colonel Cochran, the owner of Silver Shamrock, he's going to take real good care of her.
Well, they say there's a medical facility there. You guys manufacture your Halloween masks right next to your medical facility, right? That's a thing.
It's a small town.
That makes sense.
Sure. But Colonel Cochran.
I can see the library and the police department being in the same building, but not a hospital and a factory. That doesn't make any sense.
But Colonel Cochran shows up the first time we see the villain in the movie, and I don't trust any man that's in a 3-piece suit at 11 o'clock at night.
I thought that was a good line. Yeah. I liked that.
He's like, don't really show up the best medical facilities possible. And he walks like 3 feet away. He's like,
what happened? It was a misfire. What? Oh.
It was a misfire.
And anybody can hear them. And they do.
I think it would have been awesome if Dr. Dan was just like, we can hear you.
Maybe that would have been the movie now.
Yeah, I would put that in there now.
No, he snuck back to the room for another Miller High Life.
I mean, and maybe another round with his new girlfriend, child bride, whatever. Yeah. Same thing. But then is that when he goes out and he meets that like homeless dude?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the town has a curfew.
This is a favorite scene of many people who like this movie.
It has a curfew, so nobody's allowed out at night.
What, like 6:30?
Yeah, he goes to the liquor store at night, which is still open even though nobody in town is allowed out, but the liquor store stays open. And he buys a bottle of booze, runs into a homeless guy. Who's like, hey, mister, I don't got any diseases. Mind if I take a sip of that? And he goes, yeah, okay.
I mean...
you have a trustful face.
If someone just came up to me that I didn't know and did that now, I'd be like, I don't know. I don't really want a cold. I don't know. Like,
I think I would say, listen, before I give you this bottle of booze, we're going to have to go down to the free clinic and test results.
Or here's a straw. I mean, we don't have to bring the clinic
into this. There'll still be backwash with the straw.
It's true.
But yeah, and then he just wipes it off a little bit. And he starts getting some information about how
the town is like real messed up.
Yeah, and nobody like real has a job there, and like they don't know where they're getting their work staff from.
So it's kind of like Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like Willy Wonka, because he says he brings in people, just like Willy Wonka brought in Oompa Loompas.
I was going to say, I mean, how else is this like Willy Wonka, guys? We have
like that.
Dead children,
there
chocolate.
There is no earthly way of knowing in which direction we are going. Or how fast the boat is rowing. Yes!
You just wanted to do your Gene Wilder, admit it. But yeah, so he talks to this guy who's like kind of the only insider that's not, in this hive mind that's associated with Silver Shamrock, right?
Mr. Exposition.
Exactly. I mean, he's there to explain things, right? And we needed it. So then...
The next morning, they they infiltrate the facility because Buddy Kemp is there for his free tour, and
with his
buddy
horrible
met
family.
them, being like the master salesman. He's like, hey, we should let my good friends come along, because he's always thinking about the next sale. You know, it's like, oh, maybe they'll come to my town someday and buy some Silver Shamrock masks.
Yeah, he's not a bad guy at heart.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Buddy.
And so, yeah, they start
Spoiler
touring
alert.
the factory, and they get to the final preparation room, which they're not allowed to see what's in the final preparation
not at all.
movie.
Yeah.
Or room. And the thing is, like, it's probably for the best, even if they weren't an evil company, because you don't want to see how the sausage is made. I'm just putting that out there. You don't want to see the final end of the sausage. But, you know, that's where they have Stonehenge, and they're creating the evil microchips that go on with the masks. And
Right.
so they don't.
Like
They
you
never
do.
see that. But Buddy and his family are treated to getting to go to a secret room to watch the big commercial before anybody else.
Right. So the daytime happens, and one of the things that's important to note, like, so this special broadcast that's going to explode everyone's brain is 9 p.m. and they're at the manufacturing thing like almost all day, but it's still daylight when Ellie sees her father's car, and she like loses her shit because she's like, wait, something terrible happened to him here. Why do they have his? And it's can I say it's a bitchin' station wagon that was her dad's car? It was so good. It was the best station
And
wagon
at no
ever.
point does he say to himself, something strange is going on here. My kids have Silver Shamrock masks. I should maybe phone home.
Yeah.
No, that never crosses his mind.
Well, no, I mean, I
He's
think
too
it's
busy going to Poontoon and drinking his high life.
You said you weren't going to say Poontoon. I hate you. No, I mean, I think it's a leap to say something weird is happening here, and these masks are
But
going
we
to
don't
kill
know
my
the breadth of it,
children.
yeah.
Like, I mean, no one's going to assume that, even if you think they're shady, or maybe it's like a front for like a drug business or something. You're still not going to say my kids' heads are going to explode into a shower of bugs. Like, that's still that's a big leap.
Which is never really explained.
I think I would think that when I heard the misfire the night before.
I
There's a
guess. I mean,
misfire.
but like they didn't see her face. Maybe if they'd seen her
was
face, they'd have been
covered
like, "Oh
Yeah.
shit!" Right? See, so you know, the main dude, the villain, he did something good by covering her face. It was a thing.
So Buddy's family, you know, gets the tour, and then they're in the room to watch the commercial, and his son has the mask on. And as you eloquently stated, they've captured Tom Atkins and Dr. Dan and
Ellie.
Yes. And they're forcing him to watch this from the other room. And the kid, while watching it, his face implodes into spiders and bugs.
It's
and
so much
snakes.
better than it sounds. Like, guys,
And why?
it's so funny. I don't know.
Why? How?
Well, because
Stonehenge.
Because of Stonehenge.
It all comes back to Stonehenge. Like their energy somehow gets sucked into Stonehenge and this sacrifice, and it's supposed to be like every so many thousands of years. And I don't know what.
It would make a little more sense if like it just fried their heads or something with the electrocution, but
I
it
guess.
turns them into bugs.
I don't know.
And-
It changes the matter and creates new matter. I don't know.
Yeah, and then Buddy and his wife also die, I guess, because they're in proximity.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's like the fallout almost.
And something we haven't
Because they're
mentioned:
so
all
close.
the workers at this facility are robots.
Yes.
And I don't know why
All the
that's not.
All the Reaganite goons are robots.
Or robots.
And
yeah.
why is that not a stronger point? Like this company makes shitty Halloween masks, but they've like cornered the market on like realistic human robots.
That would be where you think you
That's
make
where
your
the
money.
money's at.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, especially if you like make some modifications so that they can be appropriate for alone time. Like,
And guys, can I
that's a
just-
license to print money. Come on.
Can I just ask? So obviously, it gets revealed for no reason whatsoever because he reveals his master plan. Colonel Cochran does, the bad guy. Reveals his master plan
exposition.
for no
CEO of
reason.
OCP.
He's just going
Exposition
to kill
reasons.
the guy anyways. But so reveals his master plan, and it's to have a sacrifice like they did
Right.
3,000 years ago on Samhain Halloween, where the blood will run from the hills and everything. How I know this is like the Cabbage Patch Dolls of Halloween masks, but what? I mean, a lot of kids are going to die, but not every kid in the United States is wearing one of these masks.
No, but I mean, I think that
And
it was just
are they
enough.
to really be wearing the mask during the giveaway?
They were told to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, anyway, so Ellie and Dan, they kind of like free from their restraints. They find the like box of those.
All the little tags.
And they're-
Hold on. Before we get there, he does actually try to phone his wife and say, "Hey, tell him not to put the mask
Oh yeah,
on."
and she hates him so much at this point. She's like, "Yeah, f you. I don't care. Whatever you have to say, I don't care." Yeah, not a great portrayal of her character. But
Yeah, and then he grabs the
find all
box,
the-
and while they're
yeah.
working on all the gizmos and gadgets, he drops this box and it electrocutes all of the robots.
Because the broadcast has some kind of algorithm that triggers these little chips.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. And they've been testing it. And when Tom Atkins' character and Ellie like flip the box, they go ahead and it fries like all of the robots in the proximity. And then eventually they position it so that it gets the main villain too.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so they are able to escape. Now Ellie was separated from Dr. Dan, so
Right.
and they get back together and they're leaving, and all of a sudden Ellie starts to attack him, and we find out what the twist.
She's a robot.
Dead, and she was turned into a robot. Now, Brian, you think that she was a robot the whole time?
Yeah, that's the thing is they don't really explain to you. They're just like, oh, well, she's a robot now, so maybe she's been a robot the whole time. But
It's ambiguous.
It is ambiguous, but I find it funny how they get in a car accident. Her arm has fallen off. Okay, and
She's a robot.
Robot Ellie attacks him. He beats her, gets her head ripped off,
Yeah.
and then the arm is sentient and comes after.
It
her.
is. Well, they're very advanced robots. I think they killed her and made a robot out of her.
In like 20
I think.
minutes.
No, they met her the day before. Okay, they're a very efficient facility. They had time.
They made an exact replica of this woman
But anyway,
as a robot in like a day.
it's
Okay.
ambiguity.
Right.
The most important part, I think, is at the end of the film, though, when Tom Atkins is alone after he's like messed up the Ellie robot real bad. It's at the end he's calling the television stations and asking them to pull the commercials because without the commercial and the giveaway, this algorithm won't exist. Nobody's head will explode and everybody will be happy. So he calls the station and he says, I need you to pull it on this, because there weren't that many channels
There were
back
3
then.
channels.
And he's like, I need you to pull it on this station. They pull it. Need you to pull it on the second station. They pull it. And then the third station is playing, and there's a little kid right in front of Dan that's watching the ad with the mask on his head. And he's like, pull it, for the love of God, pull it. And it keeps going to the commercial. He keeps begging, and then cut to black. Did he get them to pull it? Did everybody's head explode?
Everyone's head exploded.
The movie ends in ambiguity.
Now, Lane, you hated the ending.
I think
right?
it's a cop-out. Like, decide how your movie ends. Don't make me guess. That's not my job. You
okay.
wrote and directed a film. Give me an
To be
ending.
fair, this director is a fan of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Sure,
so
and you can
he's
see
trying
that.
to replicate that sort of ending.
Right. But I still think that's a cop-out. I think, like, give me an ending to a film, decide how it ends. Don't make me figure it out. That's not my position.
Well, and are these local channels that he's trying to stop
Yes.
this on?
Yeah,
so
they're local.
he's not stopping it in Indiana, Iowa.
He's trying to save his kids'
Texas.
lives. I mean, you can't blame the dude for that. And he may know the station manager just from being
But
in
he's
the
also
town.
like 4 or 5 hours from his home, so these probably isn't even the local channels his kids are watching.
I don't know. I don't know how that worked back then. I mean, maybe in the 80s we would know better.
But okay. So that's the movie here. In wrap up, this is far from a great film, but it's not.
You don't
it's not
say.
the worst film that we've done. It's more
It's
unique.
still pretty bad.
That's
I'm
hard to
Still
say.
It's
pretty
not
bad.
it's not great, but it's more unique that it's the outlier of this franchise.
It is.
It's the one
It's
without
weird.
Michael. It was the test subject that didn't work out the way they wanted
They went
to.
right back to Michael
They
Myers
went right
after
back
this,
to
so.
Michael Myers.
Now,
Yeah.
if you do want the worst Halloween film, that is clearly the Rob Zombie movies.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
those are terrible.
Halloween Resurrection.
We do not
Busta
have
Rhymes.
time.
yeah, that's
we do
pretty
not
bad
have time
too.
to explain how bad those movies are.
So-
But Halloween 3,
Halloween 3.
That was
Definitely go
it.
Check it out. If
That
you
was it.
Yeah, it is. It's worth looking as kind of an anomaly of the 1980s. So definitely check that out. It's entertaining, even if you're just there for like the 80s cornballness of it all.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So you can find me on Twitter at LA_Croft.
John, where can they find you at?
The Unreal J Wolves.
I'm at Brian Coddington on Twitter. I want to give a shout out to Dave
Yes.
Bracy and Reclamation Brewery for having us here.
Thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you
having
guys
us.
for
This
having
is
us.
awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks to Epicast,
You can-
as always.
Yes, thank you to Epicast. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, at Psycho Show. You can also find us on the Epicast Network at epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw our way, you can contact us at cinemapsychoshow.com. And make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes. Send us a rate, send us a review. We love getting those. And be sure to catch our new episode, available every Sunday.
It's almost time. It's almost time. Make sure you're wearing your masks. The giveaway will be in a moment.